We met at a friend's wedding. He was the best man, charming and handsome. I was immediately drawn to his warmth and humor. Our connection was instant, electric. We spent hours talking that night, laughing and sharing our dreams. He proposed a year later, on the anniversary of the day we met. It was the easiest yes of my life. We were married the following spring, surrounded by love and the promise of forever. Our early years were blissful. We were inseparable, two halves of a whole. We built a life together, brick by brick, filled with laughter, adventure, and unwavering support. Our love story was one for the books, a testament to the power of connection and shared dreams. We were proof that true love exists, and we were ready to face anything life threw our way. Or so we thought. The first signs of trouble were subtle, almost imperceptible. It started with small things that seemed insignificant at first: a decrease in intimacy, a lack of spontaneity. Our conversations became shorter, our laughter less frequent. I brushed it off as stress, work pressure, the natural ebb and flow of a relationship. After all, every couple goes through rough patches, right? We were, after all, only human. We had our own individual struggles, our own battles to fight. But as weeks turned into months, a gnawing unease settled in the pit of my stomach. It was a feeling I couldn't shake, no matter how hard I tried. The man who used to crave my touch now seemed distant, withdrawn. His eyes, once filled with warmth, now looked cold and empty. Our once passionate nights became a distant memory, replaced by an awkward silence that spoke volumes. The bed felt colder, the nights longer. I tried to talk to him, to understand what was happening. I wanted to bridge the gap that had formed between us. Was he unhappy? Was it something I had done? These questions haunted me day and night. Each attempt was met with vague reassurances, a dismissive wave of the hand. He would tell me not to worry, that everything was fine. He insisted it was nothing, that he was just tired. But his words felt hollow, lacking the conviction I needed to believe them. But my intuition told me otherwise. Deep down, I knew something was off, something was terribly wrong. Something was terribly wrong, and I was determined to get to the bottom of it. I couldn't let our relationship crumble without a fight. I needed answers, and I was willing to do whatever it took to find them. One evening, while searching for his misplaced reading glasses, I stumbled upon a bottle of pills tucked away in his drawer. Finasteride, the label read. Curiosity piqued, I Googled the name, my heart sinking with each passing word. Finasteride, a drug commonly prescribed for male pattern baldness, had a dark side, a sinister secret hidden in plain sight. It could cause sexual dysfunction, including loss of libido and erectile dysfunction. My blood ran cold. Could this be the silent intruder that had invaded our sanctuary, slowly poisoning our love? The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The timing, the symptoms, his reluctance to talk about it. It all made sense now, but the realization brought little comfort. Instead, it ignited a firestorm of emotions within me: anger, betrayal, and above all, a profound sense of fear. I delved deeper into the science behind finasteride, desperate for answers. I learned that it worked by inhibiting the production of dihydrotestosterone, DHT, a hormone derived from testosterone. What I didn't know was that DHT played a pivotal role in male sexual function. By suppressing DHT, finasteride was effectively robbing my husband of his masculinity, his desire, his very essence as a man. It was a cruel irony. A drug intended to boost his confidence by preventing hair loss was inadvertently destroying our intimacy, our connection, our marriage. The knowledge, however, offered little solace. It couldn't erase the pain, the loneliness, the growing chasm that now separated us. I felt like I was living with a stranger, a shell of the man I had fallen in love with, the man I had vowed to spend the rest of my life with. Section 5. Lost in a Sea of Loneliness. The isolation was suffocating. It felt like the walls were closing in, and the air was thick with an unspoken sadness. Every corner of the room seemed to echo with the silence of my solitude. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of loneliness, with no lifeline in sight. The weight of my emotions was like an anchor, pulling me deeper into the abyss. My cries for help were swallowed by the silence that had become the soundtrack of our lives. It was as if my voice had lost its power, and my tears were invisible to the world. I withdrew from friends and family, creating a barrier between myself and those who cared. I was ashamed to admit the truth about our crumbling marriage, afraid of their judgment and pity. The shame was a constant companion, whispering in my ear that I was a failure. I couldn't bear to face the reality of our situation, so I hid behind a facade of normalcy. Sleep became my only escape, a temporary reprieve from the reality of our situation. In the darkness, I found a fleeting sense of peace, a momentary release from the pain. But even in my dreams, the pain followed me, manifesting as nightmares filled with rejection and abandonment. There was no sanctuary, no place where I could truly rest. The nightmares were relentless, each one a cruel reminder of my deepest fears. I would wake up in a cold sweat, my heart racing, the echoes of my dreams lingering in the darkness. I was trapped in a waking nightmare, my heart breaking a little more with each passing day. The pain was a constant presence, a shadow that followed me everywhere. Despair began to seep into my soul, whispering insidious thoughts of self-doubt and worthlessness. Was I not enough? Was I the problem? These questions haunted me, eroding my sense of self. The weight of our broken intimacy became unbearable, a heavy burden that I carried alone. It felt like a part of me was dying, and I didn't know how to save it. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger, someone I didn't recognize. The sadness in my eyes was a reflection of the emptiness I felt inside. The insidious thoughts of self-doubt and worthlessness grew louder, drowning out any glimmer of hope. I questioned everything about myself, wondering if I was the cause of our misery. The weight of our broken intimacy became unbearable, pushing me to the brink of despair. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering on the brink of an abyss. The edge of a dark abyss, where the light of hope seemed to fade away. I was lost in a sea of loneliness, with no shore in sight. To the edge of a dark abyss, where the light of hope seemed to fade away. I was lost in a sea of loneliness, with no shore in sight. The darkness was overwhelming, and I didn't know if I had the strength to find my way back. Section 6. A temporary fix, a permanent scar. Desperate for a solution, we tried everything. Couples therapy, communication exercises, even Viagra. The little blue pill, hailed as a miracle drug, offered a temporary fix, a fleeting glimpse of our former intimacy. But it couldn't address the root cause, the emotional disconnect that had taken root deep within our relationship. Each failed attempt chipped away at our foundation, leaving us feeling more broken and defeated. The resentment grew, poisoning our interactions, turning every conversation into a minefield of unspoken accusations and hurt feelings. We were like two ships passing in the night, our paths once intertwined now diverging, drifting further and further apart with each passing day. The love that had once burned so brightly between us now flickered like a dying ember, starved of the oxygen it needed to survive. Section 7. The heartbreaking decision. The decision to end our marriage was the most difficult one I have ever made. It felt like a part of me was being torn away, a part that had been integral to my identity for so long. It was an acknowledgement of the painful truth that we had grown apart, that the connection we once cherished had faded into a distant memory. The love we once shared had become a casualty of a drug's insidious side effects. The medication that was supposed to help had instead driven a wedge between us, creating a chasm too wide to bridge. The pain of letting go was excruciating, a torment that felt like ripping my heart out of my chest. Every memory, every shared moment seemed to haunt me, reminding me of what we had lost. It was like tearing apart the very fabric of my being, unraveling the threads that had held us together for so long. But I knew deep down that it was the right thing to do, for both of us. We had to find a way to heal, to move forward, even if it meant doing so separately. We deserved a chance at happiness, a chance to rediscover ourselves and what it meant to truly live. Even if it meant finding it separately, we owed it to ourselves to try. The guilt was overwhelming. I questioned myself constantly, wondering if I had not tried hard enough, if there was something more I could have done to save us. Had I missed some crucial sign, some opportunity to mend the rift between us? The doubts gnawed at me, making me question every decision, every action. Was there something more I could have done to save us? Could I have fought harder, loved deeper, been more understanding? These questions plagued my mind, leaving me restless and uncertain. But as I looked at the man sitting across from me, the man I had once vowed to spend my life with, his eyes filled with a mixture of relief and resignation, I realized that he too had been carrying a heavy burden. We were both victims of circumstances beyond our control. I knew that our story had come to an end. It was a bittersweet conclusion, but one that held the promise of new beginnings for both of us. As we walked away from each other, I felt a sense of closure, a sense of peace that we had made the right choice. Section 8. Facing judgment, seeking understanding. The news of our separation was met with shock and disbelief from our families. How could a happy couple like us throw away years of marriage? What they didn't understand was the silent battle we had been fighting, the invisible enemy that had invaded our home and torn us apart. I was met with judgment, accusations, even blame. Some whispered that I was selfish, that I had given up too easily, but their words couldn't penetrate the wall of grief and exhaustion that surrounded me. I learned that not everyone will understand, and that's okay. Sometimes the strongest love stories are the ones that end in bittersweet goodbyes. I chose to focus on my own healing, on rebuilding my life brick by broken brick. Section 9. A message of hope and healing. My story is not unique. Countless couples are struggling in silence, their relationships ravaged by the hidden consequences of medications like Finasteride. To them, I say this: you are not alone. Talk to each other. Communicate your fears, your frustrations, your pain. Seek professional help. Explore all options, including alternative treatments or discontinuing the medication altogether. Remember that love requires honesty, vulnerability, and above all, empathy. Listen to your partner's needs, both spoken and unspoken. And most importantly, never lose sight of the love that brought you together in the first place.